welcome to our what was to be a three-piece suite of the talks about the future of online games and the past. Unfortunately, Carsten from Gameforge has fallen ill, which means we only have two presentations, Heiko HUBERTZ, who's going to be next, and Pascal Suter from Area Games. And then we're going to have a panel where we will be joined by Hendrik Klintwort from InnoGames, who was graceful enough to come in at short notice and help us make this even more interesting. Now, before we start, my name is Jan Wagner from Cliffhanger Productions. We are a relatively small indie developer, and we also helped in the past do production and consulting for online games and other kinds of games back when games were sold in boxes. One of the reasons we do this here is that a lot of people have a very generalistic view of the market that's basically saying, well, online games are more or less dead compared to mobile games. I don't think that is true, and we also don't think that that there's any sort of general truth that is as easy as a lot of investment people or the general view of the market would like it. There is online games that are very much thriving. There is mobile games that are very much failing. Obviously, there's general trends. But what we wanted to do with this number of sessions with this, and this panel is to look more into what the differences are, what the individual views of the companies that are shaped by their history, they're shaped by their experiences, how they form their view on the future, and what that future obviously would perhaps look like. And I think it's worth looking into the specifics of each company and of their heritage to understand why they are doing the things they are doing and how their specific view of the market is. With the increasing market segmentation that we see and the increasing evolution of platforms, of games, of monetization, acquisition mechanisms, a lot of things that we are doing as a industry today are still very much informed by where we come from. Whether we come from digital development, whether we come from web development, whether we come from pure mobile development. Wherever we come from, that is very much part of how we assume the future will look like. And these next couple of sessions are all about this specific view on the future to maybe get a more intelligent and a more detailed view of what the future would look like, as opposed to the general, the next big thing that may or may not appear. So without further ado, Heiko HUBERTZ from Bigpoint. Most of you know them. If not, I think he's going to be able to introduce himself. Please, small applause for welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. What I want to tell you today is a little bit how Bigpoint sees the market, what happened, especially in the past, in the last, I would say, 12 months, and what the challenges are. And also on the last slides, I want to show you a little bit what kind of special challenges Bigpoint has. In general, as we started the browser game space, and Bigpoint was one of the first companies around 10 years ago, we started with browser gaming. It was a quite innovative space we were in. If you see those kind of games who have developed different markets over the last maybe 20 years or almost 20 years, you see that every game was really something special and something unique. And the same was with browser games. So browser games was new and innovative. And important is what I say, browser games is not new and innovative anymore. And that's exactly, from our point of view, the biggest challenge the entire market has at the moment. So if you look at in the market in general, the internet market was growing very, very fast, and it's still growing. It's a huge market. It's a very interesting market, the internet space. The internet space, gaming, is a mega trend in the browser gaming or online gaming is a mega trend in the internet space and in the gaming space. So that's for sure. But what does that at the end mean? Because isn't mobile maybe the even bigger trend? That's what we think it is. And that's exactly what you have to prepare yourself. Because if you compare browser and mobile gaming, you will see that browser and mobile have both can attract a high user number. Our company has more than 300 million registered users. But what does it mean if you just look in the mobile space? We talk about billions of potential users. The user loyalty in browser games is okay, But in mobile, you don't have almost no loyalty because it's so easy to download the next game and so on. And I think that's maybe one of the few differences between both markets, because the access in browser is very easy, mobile maybe even easier. The quality of the games is in the meanwhile quite high. Of course, if you compare that to consoles, we come later to that space, you cannot talk about high quality games. But for what the market technology is offering you, both areas are offering quite fun games and quality games. Free to play, it's possible on both areas, so nothing new. And online multiplayer experience you have also in both areas. So at the end, why should I play a browser game if I only can play the browser game in my browser, maybe just at home or in the office at my computer, if I can play a mobile game anytime and exactly with the same experiences. And if you look in the market is already quite big. Almost 3 billion euros were spent just on mobile games in the last years. So that's already a really, really big market. The problems in this market are, develop a game, make it very successful in the App Store. That's very difficult. Now, there are not many companies who are really successful in that space. But the user behavior is totally changing, and there's no really innovation in the browser gaming space at the moment to say, user, you should play in the browser and not on your mobile device. And as a developer, it makes, from a revenue point of view, a lot of sense to develop a mobile game if you generate those kind of good numbers. The other big market is the console market. So is this a big challenge for the browser games market? For sure. If you take a look, and in this case, EA, if you see how much revenue they already generate in the digital space, and here the free-to-play, that's really a big, big thing for them. They're already generating $1 billion just in the digital space, and almost 40% of that, or almost 50% of that, is from the free-to-play space. So, and this is a traditional console gaming company. So if you see that there's a huge potential in that area as well to generate this business model revenues. In the past, it was just possible in browser gaming, then it became very successful in PC gaming, and client-based games, then in mobile games and in console games as well. So also here, you don't have a big differentiation. But it is not only EA, there are also all the other companies in that space who have understood that. And they really know how to develop good quality games. And that's one of the challenges for browser games. If you want to play a really good quality game, you can play it on the console with exactly the same business model. And I'm pretty sure with a new version of PlayStation and Xbox, you will see that, that they're all connected and that the free-to-play model is really a common and maybe the main business model on those devices in the future. So that's really challenging if this is not really the big difference anymore for your business model as a browser games company. And in the past, as we have started all in that space, it was very easy telling the user the game is for free, you can play it everywhere, anytime, and you just have to buy some items if you like the game. That's just not the case anymore for browser games, that's the case for everything. So if you compare now browser, mobile, console, all of them have high user numbers, with consoles maybe not that high and not that easy to get access. The user loyalty is okay browser, as I already said. There's no loyalty in the mobile space, but a very high loyalty in the console space. If you have your console, you play the game, and you use your console much more often. And with the one game, because at the moment it's quite expensive. Maybe that's changed in the future with a pure free-to-play model on consoles. The access, as I said, browser, mobile, easy, console not very easy. So that's definitely a good point, staying in the browser space. High quality, the console is definitely much higher, and they will never compete in the browser space. And I think the same for mobile space with the quality of a really gaming console. Free-to-play model works for all the different devices, and the same with online multiplayer experience. So if you compare that, where all the advantages on the left side we had in the past, the browser almost don't exist anymore. So that's really challenging. The user in the past just play browser games for that reasons. There's no reason for them playing browser game, just for that reasons. So what does it mean if you develop browser games? And I want to give you 3 or 4 solutions we are doing at Bigpoint at the moment to face that, because we don't want to become a pure mobile games company, and we don't want to become a pure console games company, because we don't want to compete in the different environments. We want to stay as a browser game company. So 3 fundamental things we really think what is necessary in that space. First is really top quality in your games. What does top quality mean at the end? First of all, I think the most easy thing is bug-free gameplay. In the past, and that's also true for our company, it was very easy to develop a game. You just launch the game, and you just have seen what happens with the users. Do they like it? Do they play it? And if they have some issues with the game, you just fix the bugs in the live environment. That doesn't work anymore. The user don't come back if you don't launch a really bug-free game, and if you don't fix the remaining bugs very fast. Great art. The user expects, in the meanwhile, 3D. There are also good chances to launch a game with 2D and so on. You still have a good chance to be successful with that. But the user, the core user who spent a lot of money in your game, they expect really good art. Game design. In our space, I think the same is for the social game space. For a long time, there were no game designers. I think we hired our first game designers, I think something like 2010 or so, maybe 2009. Before that, we don't have any game designers in our company, and our company already was 7 years old. So that is really something that's great game design, but really helps you to develop a good game. All these things are very obvious so far. But now, the user life cycle, to understand that, I think for every who has a little bit of commerce background, understood why this is important. But user lifecycle management is really, really complicated. There are really many other things are important, like customer relationship management, payment patterns you see, customer patterns you see. That's really the key. If you can't keep your users as long as possible in your game, or at least in your games, if you have multiple of them, that really drives your user lifecycle, user lifetime value, and at the end gives you even the chance to survive with your game, and it gives you the chance to be successful with your game. But maybe even more important is this one, the game life cycle management. We know our company, as I said, is 10 years old. We still have games online we developed 10 years ago. We still have games who are 3, 4, 5 years old and still have very significant revenues. But what we know is that a user maybe only like to play this game for a couple of years, and then he would like to play a similar game. And if you cannot offer those kind of games in your portfolio to keep the user in your environment, it's quite tricky. So you have to know when the the game life cycle ends, and you offer a similar game from a similar genre to your users to keep it, to keep the user. Second one is innovation. I think the biggest issue in this market is don't create don't create copycats. There's so many farm games, there's so many city builder games, there's so many similar games in the market. Even we did that in the past, to be honest. But innovation is really the key, because if you just create copycats, user acquisition costs will kill you. Because at the end, you you compete with every other developer at Google. And Google is the main driver for your traffic in the most cases. So if you have to pay, in the past maybe €1 or something like that per user, and now you have to pay 4 or 5 euros, because in this genre there are so many similar games, that doesn't work. So really look for new innovative games and not just copy other games because they have been successful in the past. Experiment with new game mechanics, also very, very critical. That's some of the things in the past. We just have seen this kind of farming game with social games. If you take a look at the social games, there's so many similar games there. And that's not really something new, something unique. We tried, and of course, this takes a risk. We did a game together with Square Enix called Game Globe. That's really unique and different. If you take a look in other games who are really unique and specific, they are very successful and can be very successful long term, and not maybe just a hype for a couple months or maybe 1 or 2 years. Attract new target audiences. I think Zynga did that very well with the Farmville, looking for a female audience. In the past, also our company, I think for the first 7 or 8 years, we just developed games for a male audience. And then we launched Farmorama, and the first time we had a female audience, and we could increase our revenues heavily. Of course, that means also that you have to look for completely different audience maybe in the future, meaning much younger people, older people, people who are not calling themselves a gamer. Especially on mobile, that's quite easy to do at the moment. Explore new platforms. I think even that I have compared and said, okay, we don't want to be a mobile gaming company or console gaming company. You have to have something on those platforms. If you don't exist on these platforms with your IP, with your games, you lose a channel to communicate with your users. So whenever you develop a game, you also need something similar, at least a tool that the user can interact with the game through the other platform. User retention. In the first years of our company, it was so easy to buy and to get new users, and this has completely changed. One of the biggest challenges we have is not to develop a great game. The biggest challenge we have is to get new users and keep those users in our games. So use your knowledge you have about the users. The beauty of our business is that we can track everything. Maybe that's a little bit tricky in Germany with data protection and so on, but at least you have a chance to track everything and to react on the user behavior. So that's really, really something. Use that knowledge and not just track a little bit what the user is doing and what kind of web pages he's looking at. Really track everything, what he's doing with his mouse. Track everything. Have user experience labs in your own studio. Invite other users and see what they really do in your game, what they understand, what they don't understand, and optimize that. Do use very smart cross-promotion. Of course, that only works if you have a portfolio of games, but one of the biggest challenges is that you lose a user very fast if he doesn't like your game anymore, and it's very hard to buy him or get him back into your platform. So you need a portfolio of games to inform the user all the time that there are similar games in your portfolio he might play. Even that you might send a user to a competitor, at least you get some revenue share maybe from your competitor just by sending the user to him. Otherwise, he's maybe churning anyway, and you don't get anything from that. So smart cross-promotion. Behavior and retargeting, I think very common in the entire industry for marketing, retargeting. That's not what I want to talk about. I'm talking about retarget the user in your game. Figure out what the user is doing in your game and try to communicate with the user in the game. There's no better place talking to the user exactly at a specific event. So meaning if a user is joining a clan, you should definitely offer him maybe a special discount to buy something to be as strong as all the other people in the clan. Something like that. So really take a look what he's doing and target him all the time in the game. Personalized offers and real-time pricing, that's something really new and very difficult. But if you're able to manage that, that will drive your revenues really, 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 really heavily. That means that you offer every user a unique price in your game. That's really, really interesting part here. Meaning a user who's maybe interested to spend just $5 in a game, and the other users may be willing to spend even $10 for exactly the same item. Why should you offer this user also the item for $5? So that's really something that's tricky because the community will talk about that. So you really have to be very careful of that. But here, and we know that from our experience, the users are willing to spend really different prices from different user clusters. So cluster your users, understand your user behavior, and offer them in real time different prices for different scenarios for different items. That really will drive your revenues. But be careful of your community management. And of course, really important is at the end, if you really want to, I don't want to use the word survive, but if you want to grow in the future, you need a very strong platform. It's not about just develop a game and that's it, and then let's launch this game and let's buy a little bit of traffic somewhere, or let's find a partner who maybe sends traffic to us. It's really about the entire challenge you have on the market. So about CRM analytics, you need a really reliable infrastructure. The user will not accept any server downs. You need worldwide distribution. Just entering 1 or 2 countries is just not enough. You need a huge user base. So worldwide distribution, you need a secure environment for the user. If you get any hacks in your game, you're really in trouble with that. But I think that's true for every online company. But the same with partner integration, that you're just not looking for an acquiring users, you need partner who maybe drive traffic to you and so on. So many, many things what you have to take care as an online games company. It's not just I'm a studio, I develop a game, I launch a game on the web and that's it. You also have to offer the entire environment here. And that's what we think will be really the key driver for the successful companies in the next years. And that's also in the last 2 slides. I just want to show you what Bigpoint has done right. Unfortunately, even that we had a very tough time in the last 12 months in our company with all those changes, but we did many things in the past right. I don't want to mention all of them, but we also have some challenges at the moment in our company, and that's telling you something, hey, you have to do this and that, it's easy, but to execute that is much harder. And I just want to show you 4 topics what we are doing at the moment in our company. And one of the things is really on the quality of our games. We have games in our companies we are developing for a long, long time. even that the revenues maybe were not that high as expected, we really believed in the game, but we started polishing the game. And now, after maybe a year of development, it pays back. The user accepts and sees that we're really doing a great job here, and now the company is getting much higher revenues out of those games just because of the quality. Make every user extremely happy. Don't think about a user and equal them to revenue. Really think about how can you make your user happy. How can you really offer them a fun game. That's really the key driver here, and that's what we try to offer here, and not think just on revenues anymore. Our company, the first 10 years, just were thinking about revenues. A user means revenue. Since we're now changing our behavior here and thinking more about offering a fun game, it drives revenue at the end. Revenue is just the result of that. Develop mobile games. In our case, we do it externally. We started doing mobile games, and we totally failed. We had a team which unfortunately we had almost completely laid off just because we haven't been successful in that area. So now we're going this way and developing games with external studios, just with people who really know what they're doing. We had no clue at this time about mobile games. So one of the things we have changed now. So we will do some mobile games, but not internally. And expand the number of external games. So almost every game, every successful game in our portfolio was an internal developed games. And now we go more and more the direction and license third-party games. Other companies have done that very successful for the last years. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that. And that's some of the things we have now to change to increase our portfolio, to do the smart cross-platform, smart cross-promotion, all this kind of stuff. So these 4 things are really what our company is now focusing on, to go through the challenge the games market has, or the browser games market has at the moment, to hopefully to be even stronger in the next years. So that's our view on the market. Thank you.